Hey, welcome to Unit 5. We're on the downward slide, 2 weeks to go. This should go pretty well. Everybody got a really good grasp on everything that we've discussed so far and all the learning objectives so far. But I did want to take some time today to go ahead and go over the actual presentation itself, since it is worth about a quarter of your grade. It's worth quite a bit. So the better chance that you have to get a good presentation on the first draft will give you a higher likelihood of maximizing your points on the final draft. So I'm going to give you some tips and recommendations and kind of give you my thoughts on how I will be grading it, how I'll approach each one of the presentations when I open it up and I view it. So bottom line is, and I made myself some notes, when I view your presentation, I go through the grading process. I'm going to do it as if you're presenting your presentation to me as if I'm the owner. All right, so you need to make sure you really put it out there. There's no point in putting together a survey like this to improve the security measures of a business unless you're truly trying to apply some of those improvements and make the business better. So you're really having to sell it, because overall, as I think I've made the point over and over again, in business, a lot of times security is a loss because you're spending money on something that may never occur. And you really have to be able to convince whoever the owner is that these are viable options and these are things that they need to apply to their security program so they can improve the security and make it safer for the customers and tenants or whoever the people that are using the business happen to be. All right, so when I say to sell it, you need to make sure that you're putting it in up front. That how is this going to benefit me? So rather than a normal presentation, which has an introduction and you kind of break everything down in a presentation, you want to make sure that you put the bottom line up front, right? What's in it for me? So make sure that you have your title page that kind of lays out what this is all about. And your introduction is going to give me the 5 W's, the who's, the what's, where's, the when's, why's, the how, and then also the how. So make sure you tell me how the survey was conducted. So break it down really well and set it all up very well in the introduction. And then when you go into your next slide, my recommendation is since you're trying to sell this to the owner that this is a program that these are the measures they should improve, put the bottom line up front in the next slide if you can. In other words, just tell them what measures are being recommended and how that will save them liability, how it will make their customers safer. And then once you've laid that out, then you can go ahead and go into your slides and break down the principles. From there, you want to make sure that you're setting up in bullets. In other words, you don't want to just have a picture and kind of talk through the picture. You always want to have something there that supports the picture. So you want to make sure you have some bullets either on the page with the pictures, or maybe put the pictures up first and then put the bullets up first, and then on the next page, go into an explanation of how you came to those conclusions in the picture itself. Just make sure you're detailed enough. Once again, you're kind of breaking it down. You told them up front what you found and how they can improve, and now you're explaining each one of those principles and each one of those recommendations and how those things will do it. So just make sure that on each slide, you not only put down what's wrong, put down why it's wrong, put down how to fix it, and then move on to the next principle. You may or may not find improvements that apply to all 4 principles, then that's fine. That's up to you. It's all dependent upon how prepared the business already is as far as how their physical security program already is. Once you've done explained each one of your recommendations in detail, and you have your supporting pictures along with it, make sure that you also have a final slide. That's my recommendation, a final slide that summarizes. In other words, you basically tell them what you just told them. So go into it again, those things that you improved and how they will improve the overall security program and how it'll benefit them, whether it's increased profits because you'll have more customers, or it will be reduced liability because now you won't have to worry about getting sued because somebody was a victim of violent crime or something while they were at the business, or whatever the complex happens to be. And then, of course, you want to make sure that you have a reference page at the end that supports all the things that you said during your presentation. Now, what I don't necessarily need those cited references in the body of the presentation itself. As long as those references at the back, I can go back through and I can tell that those references support what your recommendations were. And you always want to make sure that you have at least 3 credible sources, because the business owner, once again, you're selling this to me as if I'm the business owner. He's going to want to see those references at the end. How did you get to where you got? And how did you get to those recommendations in that? All right, so that's kind of I'm not going to give you a template on how to do it. That's going to be up to you. A lot of flexibility on how you put it together, whether you put the problems up front and then put the recommendations at the end, whatever works best for you, that's going to be up to you. And I look forward to taking a look at them. So the other thing that we definitely want to go over real quick, I will tell you that there are multiple versions of PowerPoint out there. If you're using the same one that I'm using, the one that was available through the school, it's one of the more later versions. There are a lot of tutorials that are out there on YouTube on how to use PowerPoint and how to make a narrated PowerPoint presentation. The version that I have is very simple, not a lot of pop-up boxes, not a lot of options, which I like the simple method. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share the screen with you real quick, go over what I got, give you a couple of tips in that. The biggest thing is when you put your presentation together, once it's together, put together a script. Know what you're going to say in each slide. Convincingly, with confidence. Know what you're going to say in each slide. Don't try to wing it. If you try to wing it, you're going to find yourself going through multiple presentations or putting together a product that's going to not sell what you're trying to sell. All right, so let me go ahead and go into share real quick. All right, so I think you've seen these. You may or not. This is an apartment complex, and I have not set this up like a presentation. The reason why I'm doing this is just to kind of show you how to go through this process. Let me move this down to where I can. Okay, here we go. So when you get onto this page right here, you want to go over to slideshow. Once you go over to slideshow, you'll see a button right there. It says record slideshow. Now, when you press on it, what it's going to do is it's going to instantly start, and it's going to start recording your stuff. So what I would do is go ahead and hit stop there, go ahead and rewind, so it goes back to 0. So now you're at a starting point where you can start from there. And you may or may not have any words at all that you're going to put on your title page. So if you're not going to put anything on your title page, then you're going to go ahead and scroll to the next page, and I will start right up again. So you want to stop it, you want to rewind it, and then you want to start from there. And my recommendation is play with it a little bit, maybe give yourself a short explanation on each slide to make sure that you understand how this narration works in your slideshow, so you don't have a lot of gaps of time. And at any time you can stop it. So if I start it and it starts recording, and that's all I want to say for that slide, now I can go down here to the middle, I can move on to the next slide, and if you go back to that slide, you can stop it on that one, go back to the next slide. Oh, so it doesn't quite do that. Okay. And you can go in and rewind it all the way through. Like I said, you're going to have to play with it. It's a little bit quirky. The first time that I recorded one yesterday, I found that it lost some of the narration during one of the slides. So you're just going to have to play a little bit, make sure you understand. Like that's why it's so important that you have a script. Now, if you have one of the older versions, it may actually give you some more options for playing through the presentation. I think some of you probably have already made narrated presentations before, which will make this pretty easy for you. But go ahead and, like I said, make sure that you already have your plan together. So you have a script, you have your slideshow already put together. So that way, when it comes time and you played with the PowerPoint presentation, you understand how it works and kind of some of the quirks to it, and then go through the process from there of putting your presentation together. Once your presentation's all the way done and you hit in show, it'll ask you if you want to, your total time is, this one's only 6 seconds. Do you want to save that? You hit yes, and then it'll bring it up there, and then it'll actually show your times for each one of the slides that you have. So that's why the script is so important, because you want to make sure you talk through it to make sure that you have the time that you're going to need to meet the requirements of the project. So that's about it. When you're all done with the presentation, you got a couple options for submitting it. You can go ahead. It's probably going to be a relatively large slideshow, a relatively large file, so it may become a little difficult to load it directly into as an attachment into Blackboard. So you can always put it on your OneDrive and then share that link with me on OneDrive, which is one of the options, and then basically put that link in your in the text submission under the assignment submission. You'll figure it out. It's pretty easy. You'll have some options. If you run into some difficulties, let me know. We'll figure it out and we'll make it work. Okay. Once again, you want to try to make this first one your best one. That way, in week 6, this is really easy. That's the goal. You don't want to have a lot of corrections you have to make. You have to go through the process to redo it all because there was so many corrections necessary during the draft. If you make it like a final product this time, you'll find that it becomes very easy. Once again, it's a total point ratio is 240 points. So there's a lot goes into this. So make it a great product. Okay, that's all I got. Have a great day.